Greetings and welcome to the channel where mature adults, especially baby boomers, learn to live happier, healthier, stronger, and perhaps even longer. I'm Dr. Nalani Valentine, a holistic health educator and certified health and wellness coach. Everything that I share here is educational only. And though, if you'd like to talk with me privately, you can always reach out to me for a consultation. Today, we are diving deeply into fermented foods and other powerful sources of probiotics. Why should you, as an elder, even care about foods like sauerkraut and kimchi and yogurt and kefir and miso and tempeh? What about aged cheeses and certain pickles, not all pickles, and even traditionally prepared sourdough? What do these foods do inside your gut and how you can start adding them to your plate without feeling overwhelmed? By the end of this teaching, you'll understand and overstand the science, the benefits, and the simple practical steps to make probiotic-rich foods a part of your everyday nutrition. Now we get to see what happens when ancient food traditions meet modern gut science. First, we'll start, of course, with what are the other probiotic sources in fermented foods other than those that we've already spoken about? Fermentation is one of the oldest food preservation methods on Earth. Long before refrigerators, our ancestors used naturally occurring bacteria, yeast, and enzymes to transform milk into yogurt, cabbage into sauerkraut, and soybeans into miso. These microorganisms break down the sugars and starches in our food, creating lactic acid and beneficial enzymes. We talked a lot about enzymes lately, and new nutrients. And yes, your body actually creates a lot of your own nutrients. What makes fermented foods so special is that they deliver living microorganisms directly into your digestive system. These are often called probiotics, which means for life. When you eat fermented foods, you're not just getting nutrients. You're getting billions of living helpers that support your gut microbiota that we spoke of before, and the trillions of bacteria, fungi, and other microbes living in your intestines. Fermented foods aren't the only way to get probiotics into your body, though. Certain aged and cultured foods also contain beneficial bacteria. Aged cheeses like cheddar, Gouda, Swiss, and Parmesan develop probiotic strains during the aging process, and the longer the aging, the more beneficial bacteria survive. Naturally fermented pickles, not all pickles though, not the vinegary kind that we find in the stores, but the naturally fermented ones, the ones that are in the refrigerated section labeled lacto-fermented or naturally fermented. Traditional sourdough bread made with wild yeast starter and a long fermentation also contains beneficial bacteria and is easier to digest than the commercial bread. The fermentation process breaks down the gluten and the phytic acid, and it makes the nutrients more available. Certain fermented beverages like water kefir and kvass, which I've never had. I don't know, have you had kvass? They also deliver probiotics without dairy. For elders, this matters even more because as the years go by, the diversity and strength of your gut microbiota naturally decline. So you produce fewer digestive enzymes. Your stomach acid becomes less concentrated and your defenses weaken. Your gut lining becomes more fragile. All of this means that the foods that you eat may not be broken down as efficiently, and we went really deeply into that when we talked about enzymes. The nutrients you need may not be absorbed as well. So the fermented foods and other probiotic sources are some of the most powerful, affordable, and delicious ways to rebuild and maintain a resilient gut ecosystem at a time when your body needs it the most. First, why fermented foods matters for elders. Your gut is a home to trillions of microorganisms that do far more than help you digest food. They produce vitamins like B12 and K2, nutrients that become harder to absorb as the years go by. They regulate your mood by producing neurotransmitters like serotonin and GABA. They train your defenses to recognize threats and stay calm when there's no danger. They even communicate directly with your brain through the vagus nerve that we spoke of before in the video on vagus nerves. The long nerve that connects your gut to the brainstem and influences everything from your heart rate to emotional resilience. If you watched my earlier teaching on the vagus nerve, you already know that this nerve is your body's primary communication highway between your gut and your brain. The vagus nerve carries messages in both directions. However, as you learned from that video, there are more signals that go from the gut to the brain than the other way around. I'm still blown away when I think about that. When your gut microbiota is balanced and thriving, it sends calming, regulating signals up to your brain. When your microbiota is depleted or imbalanced, these signals become weaker and you're more vulnerable to brain fog, low mood, anxiety, and even cognitive decline. This communication highway is called the gut-brain axis, and it's one of the most exciting areas of research in nutrition and in aging science. When your gut microbiota is diverse and balanced, your brain functions better. You feel calmer, sharper, and more emotionally stable. When your microbiota is depleted or imbalanced, the vagus nerve has less to work with, and the entire system suffers. As the years go by, your body produces fewer digestive enzymes and less concentrated stomach acid. Remember in our enzyme conversation how enzymes can be destroyed by hydrochloric acid in the stomach? That same acid also kills many of the beneficial bacteria in the foods you eat before they ever reach your intestines. For younger people with robust stomach acid, this is protective. For elders with weaker acid production, it creates a paradox. You need those beneficial bacteria more than ever, but your body has a harder time delivering them safely to your gut. Your gut lining also becomes more permeable as the years go by, and sometimes when it really is extreme, it's called leaky gut. Chronic low-grade inflammation, often linked to an imbalanced microbiota, becomes more common. Medications, especially antibiotics, can wipe out beneficial bacteria along with the harmful ones. And all of this makes it harder to absorb the nutrients that you do eat. And it increases your risk of metabolic issues, a weakened defense, and slower recovery from illness or stress. Fermented foods and other probiotic-rich foods help reverse these trends. They introduce beneficial bacteria that crowd out the harmful microbes. They provide enzymes, and they assist your own digestion, which becomes especially important when your body produces fewer enzymes naturally. They produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which feed and repair the cells lining your gut. And they help regulate inflammation and support a strong, balanced response from your defenses. So you can see they do a lot. In simple terms, these foods are like a cleanup crew, a repair team, and a defense force all rolled into one delicious bite. For elders, they're not optional. They are essential. Here's a little science behind what happens in your gut. When you eat fermented foods or other probiotic sources, The living microorganisms travel through your stomach and into your intestines. Not all of them survive the journey, we know that. However, your stomach produces hydrochloric acid, a powerful digestive acid that kills many of those bacteria, both harmful and helpful. That's actually a good thing for protection. Yet it also means that as your stomach acid production decreases with age, you might think more bacteria would survive. But weaker acid also means weaker or less efficient digestion overall. And harmful bacteria can sometimes slip through along with the helpful ones. Your body needs the right balance. The beneficial bacteria that do survive take up residence, at least temporarily, in your intestines. They don't permanently colonize your gut, but they do important work while they're there. They produce the enzymes that break down fiber and the complex carbohydrates. They create vitamins, especially B vitamins, and vitamin K2, which become harder to absorb from food alone as the years go by. They produce organic acids that lower the pH of your gut, making it harder for harmful bacteria to thrive. They stimulate your gut lining to produce mucus and strengthen those tight junctions between the cells, and that helps prevent the toxins and the undigested food particles from leaking into your bloodstream. Okay, now where were we before I took my break? Oh, we were talking about the exciting discovery, right? Okay. So one of the most exciting discoveries is that when probiotics from fermented foods interact with the fiber you eat, they produce postbiotics. Postbiotics are the beneficial compounds created by probiotic bacteria as they digest the prebiotic fiber. The most important postbiotics are short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, acetate, and propionate. Butyrate in particular is the preferred fuel for the cells that are lining your colon. That's what reduces the inflammation, and it supports that gut barrier integrity, and it's been linked to better metabolic health and even improved mood and cognitive function. Research on Juice Plus, fruits, veggies, and the berry blend capsules has shown that regular consumption increases butyrate production in the gut. This is one of the reasons why whole food-based nutrition paired with fiber-rich eating creates such a powerful foundation for gut health in elders. Your body is designed to work with these microorganisms. You're not just a human. You are a walking ecosystem, and fermented foods help keep that ecosystem thriving. Now let's get into some common fermented foods, aged foods, and how to use them. You don't need to overhaul your entire diet. Start small. Pick 1 or 2 probiotic-rich foods and add them a few times a week. Here are some of the easiest to find and the simplest to use. Sauerkraut and kimchi. They are both fermented cabbage, and sauerkraut is the German style, usually just cabbage and salt. And yes, it's good for you. Just saying, there are times when sodium is really good for you. Kimchi is the Korean style, spiced with chili, garlic, and ginger. Both are crunchy, tangy, and packed with beneficial bacteria. Look for the raw, unpasteurized versions in the refrigerated section. The pasteurized versions have been cooked, which kills the living probiotics. You can add a forkful to a salad. That's what I do all the time, almost every day. I love sauerkraut added to my salads. a grain bowl, or just eat it straight from the jar, which I do sometimes too. If your digestion is sensitive, though, start with just 1 tablespoon and see how you feel. Next are yogurt and kefir. They are fermented dairy. Yogurt is thick and creamy. Kefir is drinkable and even more diverse in beneficial bacteria. Choose plain, unsweetened versions with live active cultures on the label. You can eat yogurt with fruit, nuts, or a drizzle of honey. Blend kefir into a smoothie. If you don't do dairy, coconut yogurt and almond milk kefir work just as well. I love those. The fermentation process breaks down most of the lactose, so many people who are lactose intolerant can handle fermented dairy without a problem. Whole grains today are very different from the way they used to be. And I have a friend who is a functional nutritionist, and she really specializes in making bread. She takes me back to years ago when I was raising my family. I used to buy whole wheat berries, and at that time I didn't have a mill. I had a plain old blender, and it wasn't a super strong blender either. And I used to grind it up in the blender and actually bake my own bread. And she has a mill, and she gets the berries, and she's making me want to go back and get a mill myself and bake some real bread. Why did I digress that way? Because I had started to say, take some of those great cheeses, if you eat cheese, and put them on whole grain crackers. And that rang a bell in my head. It was like, crackers today from the store, not unless you're making them yourself. And if you make your own crackers, that's awesome. Let me know. Let me know your recipe, because I'm thinking of doing some things like that, some stuff like that. Anyway, so that's what made me take the tour off into that. So let's get back to all of this stuff that I had written. And we're almost done, though. And I trust this is helpful for you. Fermented foods are really the bomb diggity, as we used to say. So let's get back to, we finished with the cheeses, and now miso. Miso is a fermented soybean paste from Japan. It's salty, savory, and rich in enzymes and bacteria. Stir a spoonful into warm water for a simple miso soup, or use it as a flavor base in dressings. Just don't boil it, because boiling kills the probiotics. Add it after you turn the heat off. I do that with several things. Sometimes if I want to add olive oil, for instance, in my food, I wait until it's finished cooking and it's cooled down just a little bit. It's still hot. It's just not cooking and boiling. And then I will pour in some of my olive oil. So try that and see how you like it. Tempeh is also made from fermented soybeans, but it's solid and nutty. You can slice it, marinate it, and pan fry or bake it. It's a great plant-based protein if you want to reduce meat or cut it out completely, or just add some variety to your diet. And I am so sad to say that I realized recently that I have an allergy to soy. Didn't even know it. And I used to eat tempeh and tofu all the time, and miso soup. And I was getting a reaction and didn't know what it was coming from. So we just get to be careful and be tested to see what's going on with ourselves. And then pickles. I love pickles. It takes me back to when I was a little girl, and we used to buy pickles in a barrel from a barrel, in front of the stores, they would have pickles in these great big barrels. You remember that? Anybody? Anyway, pickles can be probiotic rich if they are naturally fermented in brine, salt, not vinegar. Look in the refrigerated section for pickles that are labeled ecto-fermented or naturally fermented. And then there's traditional sourdough bread. It's made with a wild yeast starter and fermented for many hours, and it contains beneficial bacteria and is easier to digest than commercial bread. The fermentation breaks down the gluten and the phytic acid, making it gentler on your system. Look for artisan bakeries that use traditional methods, or learn to make it yourself if you have the time and the inclination. That's even better. Water kefir is a dairy-free fermented drink that's made from water, sugar, and kefir grains. It's fizzy, lightly sweet, and full of probiotics. You can make it at home or find it in health food stores. And I'm giving myself the idea of making it myself. Would you like to learn to make it together? I've never made it before. In fact, I've never even had water kefir. However, if you have a recipe, share it with us. And though, if you've never had it either, or you would just like to make some, let's do it together. Only if enough of you want to do it. Because I'm not going to do all of that if nobody wants it. This is for you guys, as well as for myself. Kvass is a traditional Eastern European drink made from beets or bread. Beet kvass is earthy, salty, and nourishing for your gut and your liver. Start with small amounts, as with everything that you're not accustomed to. Now, speaking of starting, here's how to start, especially for us elders. If you've never eaten fermented foods regularly, start slowly. I know you've heard me say that I have it just about every single day, and I didn't always. You want to ease yourself into it. Your gut needs time to adjust. Eating too much too fast can cause gas or bloating. Begin with 1 tablespoon of sauerkraut or kimchi with your meal, or a half a cup of yogurt or kefir in the morning if you do dairy. And then pay attention to how you feel. If you feel fine, gradually increase the amount over the next few weeks, not just over the next day. Give yourself time, spread it out. Eat fermented foods regularly, not just once in a while. Your gut thrives on consistency. Aim for at least 1 serving a day, whether that's yogurt at breakfast, kimchi with lunch, or miso soup at dinner. Combine fermented foods with fiber foods. Foods like onions, garlic, asparagus, bananas, oats, and leafy greens feed your probiotic bacteria. Did you know that? Those are prebiotic. When you eat fiber and probiotics together, your gut bacteria produce those beneficial postbiotics like butyrate that we talked about earlier. Add fermented foods to meals that you already eat. Drop a spoonful of sauerkraut onto your salad, like we said before, or even on your soup. I just had that tonight. Stir miso into your soup after you turn off the heat, and you can spread aged cheese. It says on those whole grain crackers, but we just had a conversation about that, didn't we? You can spread that cheese on whatever you like to spread it on. Let's put it that way. And then you can blend kefir into your morning smoothie with berries and spinach. Mix tempeh into a stir fry with whatever protein you prefer, whether that's tofu, chicken, fish, or beans. Store fermented foods properly, though. Keep them refrigerated and sealed. Heat kills probiotics, so don't cook them at all. Eat your sauerkraut cold or at room temperature. If you're making sourdough toast, the bread was already fermented before baking, so you're still getting the benefit of easier digestion. Be patient with yourself. It can take a few weeks to notice changes. You might feel more regular, less bloated, calmer, or more energetic. Your body is rebuilding a healthier gut ecosystem, and that takes time. Trust the process. When food isn't enough, intelligent nutrition support is what we want to look at. Even with the best intentions, many elders struggle to eat fermented foods every single day. And maybe you don't like the taste. Maybe your digestion is sensitive, and maybe you simply forget. That's okay. There's another option. That's where a high-quality probiotic and prebiotic system can help bridge the gap. The one that we personally use and recommend, especially for mature adults, is the Juice Plus Superbiome probiotic and the prebiotic system. It's a two-step system. The probiotic capsule delivers 20 billion live cultures from 9 different bacterial species, carefully selected to support digestion, regularity, and a balanced gut. And what makes it different from many other probiotics on the market is the enteric coating. Let me explain what that means. Many probiotic supplements have 50 billion, even 100 billion CFUs. CFU stands for colony forming units, which is a way of counting how many live bacteria are in the capsule. Manufacturers load up on the numbers because they know that most of those bacteria will be destroyed by your stomach acid before they ever even reach your intestines. Remember in our enzyme conversation how enzymes can be destroyed by hydrochloric acid in the stomach? The same thing happens to your probiotics. The Superbiome probiotic is created with a specific enteric coating that protects the bacteria as they pass through your stomach. And the coating allows them not only to survive the stomach acid, but also time release gently into your small intestine where they can do their work. That means you don't need 100 billion CFUs. 20 billion that actually make it to where they're supposed to go can make all the difference in the world. The second step is the prebiotic powder. This is a 6-in-1 fiber blend that feeds the probiotic bacteria once they arrive in your gut. When probiotics and prebiotics work together, your body produces postbiotics. Those beneficial compounds like butyrate that we talked about earlier. Research on Juice Plus fruit, veggie, and berry blend capsules has shown that regular consumption increases that butyrate production in the gut. This is one of the reasons whole food-based nutrition creates such a powerful foundation for the gut in healthy elders. The Superbiome system is vegan, plant-based, non-GMO, gluten-free, with no added sugar, and it's really convenient. It doesn't require refrigeration, so it's easy to travel with. I'll be traveling soon to go to a health conference, and I'll be taking my Superbiome with me. And it's designed to work alongside the foods that you eat, not replace it. For me, this system really became a part of my preparation going forward after having acute myeloid leukemia, knowing that I really could use more gut microbiota help, and so my defenses were compromised and my gut was fragile, and I needed intelligent nutrition and a way to flood my body with what it needed without overwhelming my digestion. And this system helped and it worked for me. I'm not saying that you need to do what I do. I am saying that if you find yourself struggling to eat fermented foods every day, or if your gut needs extra support, you have options. You do have infinite possibilities. So to wrap it all up together, fermented foods are one of the oldest, simplest, and most powerful tools we have for supporting our gut health, our brain health, and our resilience as we age. They are not a trend, even though it seems to be trendy these days. They are a tradition, and they work. Start small. Be consistent, pair them with fiber-rich plant foods, and listen to your body. And if you need extra support, seek out intelligent, whole food-based nutrition that respects the way your body actually works. You are not a helpless victim. Your health is in your hands. If this teaching was helpful, I invite you to explore the rest of the Eat Well series here on the channel. I get excited about all the different things that we can cover. So let me know if there's something specific that you'd like me to cover, and I will cover it, I promise, if it's something that I know anything about. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time. Peace.